All right, let's get right into it. In the middle of Manhattan, one of the busiest places on Earth, there's a building hiding in plain sight. It's a concrete secret that completely changed how we think about privacy. Today, we're unlocking the story of the most secret building in Manhattan.
I mean, just look at the stats on this thing. It's totally bizarre. You've got this 550-foot skyscraper smack in the middle of Lower Manhattan. It's got 29 floors and not a single window. It's this solid, blind monolith of concrete and granite, a true architectural ghost that's had New Yorkers scratching their heads for decades.
So that's the big question, right? What is this building? What on earth is going on inside this windowless fortress at 33 Thomas Street? Well, the answer takes us on a wild ride through Cold War paranoia, the history of our phone lines, and one of the biggest intelligence leaks of our lifetime. So our investigation has to start with its looks. This is Manhattan's windowless monolith, a true city secret hiding in plain sight. To even begin to understand what's happening inside, you gotta understand why it looks the way it does. The style has a name. It's called brutalism. And that comes from the French for raw concrete, béton brut. It popped up after World War II, and it's all about raw, exposed materials, huge geometric shapes, and just no frills. It's meant to be, as they say, brutally honest about what a building is. And yeah, 33 Thomas Street is definitely brutally honest about its purpose.
But see, that whole brutalist design, it wasn't just some edgy architectural choice. It was basically camouflage for what the building was really for. It was meant to be a Cold War fortress. So, let's peel back that first layer of secrecy. Okay, so it was built by AT&T and finished up in 1974. The tower was a super important part of their long lines network. You gotta remember, before we had fiber optics, this system of microwave relays was the backbone of America's communications. It carried everything, phone calls, TV signals, you name it. And this building was a key hub, housing the most advanced switching gear of its day.
And this is where things get really wild. This quote tells you everything you need to know about the paranoia of the era. This wasn't just a building for phone equipment. It was a fortress, literally engineered to survive a nuclear attack. It had its own power, its own water, even its own food supplies. It was designed to be a self-contained city that could keep communications going for 2 weeks after an atomic bomb went off.
And this was the engine inside that fortress, the Western Electric No. 4ES switch. It was installed in '76, and this thing was a monster, a room-sized machine they called a long-distance superstar. It was the most advanced switch in the world, routing hundreds of thousands of calls an hour. This was the beating heart of that Cold War communications network.
So the building's first big secret was that it was a nuke-proof communications hub. Pretty fascinating piece of history, right? But that story, it's really just the beginning. Its original Cold War purpose would get completely dwarfed by a new and even more secret mission in the 21st century. And that new mission kicked into high gear after September 11th, 2001. In the climate of fear that followed the attacks, this old Cold War fortress became something else entirely. It became an all-seeing eye. I mean, think about this. In just 45 days, the Patriot Act was passed. It was a massive piece of legislation that dramatically expanded the government's powers, basically giving agencies like the NSA sweeping authority to conduct widespread surveillance on American communications, all in the name of national security. But for years, the public had no idea just how far this new power went. It was all happening in the shadows. It would take one man and a massive leak of top-secret documents to finally connect all the dots. And that man was Edward Snowden. In 2013, the NSA contractor leaked a massive trove of classified files. His reason was pretty straightforward. He said he couldn't just stand by and watch the government build this massive surveillance machine in secret, a machine he believed was destroying privacy and basic freedoms. And those leaks led journalists at The Intercept to an absolutely stunning discovery. 33 Thomas Street wasn't just one thing. It had two identities. To the public, it was just an old AT&T long lines building. But in secret, it was a top-secret NSA surveillance site with a code name, TITANPOINTE. And look, this wasn't just some crazy conspiracy theory. It was all laid out in the NSA's own documents. We're talking internal diagrams, travel memos, even building plans. Journalists used this concrete evidence to link the secret programs directly to this building. It was proof that the NSA was tapping right into the river of communications flowing through it. TITANPOINTE. That was the official NSA code name for what they were doing inside 33 Thomas Street. The document showed that this site wasn't some Cold War relic at all. No, it was an active spy hub, being used to monitor huge streams of phone calls, faxes, and especially internet data passing through AT&T's network.
But the rabbit hole goes even deeper, because this fortress in Manhattan, it isn't a one-off. It's just one piece of a much, much larger hidden system. The Intercept's investigation into the Snowden files found that there aren't just one or two of these sites. There are at least 8 of them. Yep, in major cities all over the country. Chicago, Dallas, Atlanta. The NSA was secretly operating surveillance equipment right inside AT&T's own buildings.
So how did it all work? Well, according to the documents, under a program codenamed Fairview, AT&T gave the NSA direct access to the massive fire hose of data flowing through these hubs. The NSA could then make copies of huge amounts of internet traffic. That data would then be sent to a processing facility, codenamed Pinecone, and there it could be analyzed by powerful tools like XKeyscore, a program that could search through everything, the actual content of your private emails, your chats, your entire browsing history.
As you can imagine, when this all came out, it sparked a massive firestorm. There were lawsuits like Hepting versus AT&T that accused the telecom giant of illegal cooperation. These built on stories from earlier whistleblowers who had exposed a similar secret room out in San Francisco. But often, the government would just get these cases thrown out by invoking the state secrets privilege, basically saying the information was too vital to national security to even be discussed in a courtroom. Now, the main defense for all of these programs usually boiled down to one very powerful idea. If you have nothing to hide, you have nothing to fear. The government argued that these programs were absolutely essential to stopping terrorism. But civil liberties groups fired back, warning that this was a huge overreach that was creating a state of permanent surveillance.
And that brings us back to here. 33 Thomas Street stands as a concrete monument to this whole debate. It's a solid, windowless fortress that was built to last forever. But it makes you ask a pretty tough question. In an age where our data flows invisibly through buildings just like this one, how solid is our own privacy?